Hi everybody. Today, this one's for you, Nancy. I'm going to show you and everybody else how I make my chicken paprikash, homemade. Now, this wasn't a WW recipe. It was a recipe that I have gotten from my mom, but I made it about as WW friendly as I can. So let's get started, shall we? Woohoo! I have right here. Looks like four chicken breasts, but it's technically only two. But they were cut in half. So, and I'm gonna season it with salt, pepper, a little bit of garlic powder, a little bit of onion powder, and I love Flavor God seasoning. So I'm gonna use what's one? Fiesta Sweet and Tangy, and whoops, and I'm gonna use everything but the salt. I like using kosher salt instead of regular iodized table salt because it tastes better and you can use a lot more than of that salt than you can regular salt. Now, if you want some of the Flavor God seasonings that I have, I bought them online at flavorgod.com. So go to Flavor God. They have a lot of great seasonings that you can use. I love the garlic lovers one, amazing, but I don't have any more. I have to order some more. So I'm gonna stick these in my air fryer. I'll show you my air fryer. Looks like a little oven. I stick mine in my air fryer for at 400 for 12 minutes, and they come out perfect. So I have a rack for them that fits right in my air fryer. And what I do is I pour a little bit of oil into the cap. And I just take my little pastry brush and I dip it into the oil and I just brush the grill grates with it. But if you don't have an air fryer like this one and you just have the ones with a basket, you can totally just use nonstick spray. That'll be fine. Let me wash my chickeny hands and I'll be right back. I'm going to try to talk a little louder so you can hear me over the air fryer. I put my burner on medium heat and I'm going to take just about a tablespoon of country crock. So you can see the pot right there. Okay. We're going to let this melt and then I will add I got some diced up onion, some diced up bell pepper, whoops, and I also like to put in some garlic. Don't mind my snacks over here. Okay, we're gonna let these go until they get nice and a little translucent and a little soft, and then I'll show you what we're gonna do next. Okay, my onions, bell pepper, and garlic, as you can see, hopefully, are softened. Softened enough to where I'm going to add water now. We're going to add about an inch of water to the pot. Just add the water until you get about an inch of water in the bottom of the pot. Now this is how I made it WW friendly. I have 16 ounces of fat-free sour cream. If you look up Daisy, that's more than 30 points for this whole thing. I think this thing, the whole tub of this is only like 17 points for the whole thing of sour cream, and we're going to add the whole thing to it. We're going to turn the heat up on high. We have to turn the heat up on high because when we make our homemade dumplings, you have to have the water boiling in order to cook the dumplings. I like to take a whisk and whisk the sour cream really good until it's all incorporated into the water. Now this is where I add my seasonings while this is coming to a boil. I use salt, ground black pepper, a little bit of onion powder, a little bit of garlic powder, and can't forget the paprika. I like to use a lot of paprika because I like that dark color that it gives it. So just dump away until you like the color of it. This is what it's gonna look like. Hopefully you can see into my pot. There we go. We're gonna whisk it up really good. I'll show you. There's my pot. That's what it looks like. I might add and dump in a little bit more paprika because, like I said, I like it dark. Other than that, the only other thing that I do like to add to it is dried parsley flakes. I have a keep warm button on my air fryer so the chicken doesn't get cold, but even if it doesn't matter because you're going to add it to the pot anyways. I'll get all my ingredients together for my dumplings and I'll tell you how to make those. Okay, the original recipe to my homemade dumplings is 2 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I use kosher salt. 3/4 of a cup of water and 2 eggs. You mix all of the dry ingredients together, add both of the eggs, and drizzle in most of the water, but not all of it, because if you add too much, then you're going to have to add a little bit more flour to make it, a little bit less wet. Okay, but for just me and my husband, I make half the recipe. So this is my half recipe. And I hope you can see me because my pot is boiling. Okay. So for my half recipe, it's just 1 cup of flour. One teaspoon of baking powder. And 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm making a mess. Okay, we're gonna whisk together or just use a rubber spatula and mix together your dry ingredients. Then I add just 1 egg. And I still do have 3/4 of a cup of water, but I'm not going to use the whole thing because we don't want it too wet. So I'm going to drizzle in about 1/2 of a cup of water. We're going to reserve the rest of the water just in case we need it. I like to use a fork. Here's my dough. And I'm just going to mix it up and I'm going to show you what the dough is going to look like. It's going to look sticky, but it's not going to be wet. You don't have to use a fork. You can use a spoon or a rubber spatula, whatever you want. Now you can see my dough is just a little bit dry. We're going to add a tiny bit of the water. Just a little bit. This is how I want my dough to look. See how it's sticky but not wet. Okay, this is how I get my dumplings into the pot. See how my pot is rapidly boiling with water, or with my water mixture, sour cream mixture. I take just a teaspoon, and I just put a little bit on my spoon. And I'll show you my little technique. You're going to dip the spoon into the boiling water, and the dumpling comes off clean. We're going to do that until this whole thing is gone. Now remind yourself, these will expand because it has baking soda in it, or baking powder, I mean, sorry. So they will get bigger. So that's why I don't put that much on the spoon, because they will expand once they start to cook. That's it. Once you see the dumplings floating, they're done. And that's the only thing we have to do other than cut up our chicken breast, and we're going to add that to the pot too. So we're going to let this go on high for just a little bit until I cut up the chicken, and then we're going to turn it down. So let me cut up my chicken, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm not done cutting up my chicken yet, but I know the dumplings are done because they're floating. So now that they're floating, turn the volume on your stove all the way down to low, because we don't want this boiling anymore. We're done with it boiling. It needs to simmer so it can get thick on us and not be all kind of soupy. So let me finish cutting up my chicken. I'm going to cut up my chicken into bite-sized pieces, so when I put it in to the pot, you don't have to cut anything up. You can just, you know, cut the dumplings in half with your fork and just eat the chicken and the dumplings like that. So that's how I make it. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, because this is such a heavy steel pot, it retains its heat very, very well. And sometimes I take this off the heat when I turn my oven down to low, because if not, it'll just keep boiling, and that's not what you want to do. So let me get my chicken. Oop, there we go. That's all my chicken, and we're gonna carefully put this in there. You can see how they're all bite-sized pieces. Now I'm not gonna stir it like this, all crazy. I'm just gonna take my rubber spatula and go around the outside like this until all of my chicken is covered up inside of all of that goodness of that liquid. So this is what it looks like. I'm going to keep it on low for a little while and let it get thick. And then I kind of turn it off for a little while to let it get a little bit thicker. So, and it's just until I like the consistency of the sauce. So it's no real time limit on it, just until you like the consistency of the sauce and how thick you want it to be. So that's it. And I'm going to show you what the finished product looks like in a bowl. Okay, I should tell you, when you have your pot simmering on low heat, don't put the lid on. You want it to come to thicken up a little bit on you, and see how it's thickening up on me already. And you can tell by, put your rubber spatula in your, and you see how the liquid is still a little runny, but it'll stick to the spoon a little bit better the more you let it go. So we'll tell you the points, and I'll show you what it looks like in a bowl when I'm done. Okay, we are, I think, done. You can see my spoon is nice and thick with the sauce. I make this just for me and my husband, so we usually eat 2 bowls about this size for dinner. It can make up to about 4 to 6 servings, depending on how much water you put in. If you could put in a little bit more water, and you can put in more chicken, but if you put in more water, put in a little bit more sour cream to thicken up the sauce. And when I either put it in as 3 servings for me and him, it comes out to 7 points for the sauce, and the dumpling comes out at 4 points. I did them in there separately when I calculated this recipe. So, but if you did 5 or 6, 5 or 6 servings, it comes out at the same points anyway. So it's about 11 points for 2 servings for dinner. And here we go. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. I hope you enjoy it at home, making it for yourself or your family for dinner. And that's it. So we're going to have dinner now. And don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment on this video and tell me how it turned out for you at home. And don't forget to share this video with all your friends and all your WW family. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So we'll see you on the next one. Bye, everybody.